You don't have to make people poor in order to conquer inflation. Those are the words of Steve Forbes. Hey, soldiers, today we're going to talk about what Steve Forbes has observed in that the governments of the world, specifically the United States government in this case, is purposely out there trying to impoverish the middle class, trying to destroy it. And you need to understand what's going on. This is not about fear. This is not about doom and gloom. This is about looking out on the horizon and seeing, hey, there are storm clouds brewing. We need to batten down the hatches. So we're going to talk about solutions. We're going to talk about opportunities. But first, we need to look at exactly why the United States government and the governments of the West, primarily controlled by Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum. And look, if that sounds conspiratorial to you, you haven't been paying attention, because Klaus Schwab has been very upfront, very vocal about exactly what he and his organization, the WEF, are trying to do.
We are in deep shit. نحن في كرب عظيم.
So absolutely, we are in it deep. It will be in it even deeper if we don't pay attention. So what's Steve Forbes talking about? Well, he says in focusing on raising interest rates to cool inflation, central banks and governments have overlooked the importance of maintaining stable currencies. And he's looking at the fact that when you raise these interest rates, two things tend to happen. First of all, money gets more expensive. So credit card interest rates go up. Mortgage interest rates go up. And that tends to make people say, you know what, I can't afford it. It also makes people who might be thinking about selling something like a house, they're going to have to lower their prices. And if they lower their prices too much, then it's not going to be attractive for them to sell in the first place, because they're not going to make any money. Okay. So especially if you bought, here in the last few years. So this has an effect of cooling down the economy. That's one way. Now, the other result from increasing interest rates is that since money gets tighter, the reason they're increasing the interest rate is because of inflation. So we already got food inflation at an all-time high, okay? We're going into the winter where the cost of heating your home is going up between 17 and 64%, depending on where you live in the country. So money's going to have to contract and be used for necessities. So if you're not buying as many items from Walmart or from Amazon, those retailers are going to have to look at laying off. If you can't afford the latest Apple product right now, then that might make Apple have to lay off. And they are, okay? You've got... we talked about the layoffs in a video last week. We talked extensively about the companies that are laying off, like Gap, okay? People are saying, hey, I really don't need another pair of blue jeans, dungarees, as my grandfather used to call them. I don't need another pair right now, okay? They got holes. The ones on the rack got holes in them anyway. I've been wearing these for 4 years. They've got holes. I don't need to buy those right now. So as money gets more expensive, as credit card interest rates go up, as people lose their jobs, of course, it has the effect of stemming inflation, because there's just not enough money out there to pursue the goods, okay? And so the demand supply equation kind of goes in the other direction. So Steve Forbes is saying, wait a minute, that unemployment piece, you're making people poorer by potentially putting them out of a job. Elizabeth Warren, the senator, she had a lot to say on that in a tweet. She recognized that last week when she was going over this with Jerome Powell. So you're making people poorer through that method, unemployment. Since the companies are having to lay off and their earnings are slowing down, you're making people poorer there as well, because the stocks of these companies are coming down. We did a 3.5 hour live stream today. It was great stuff. What we did was we watched the markets. We watched the equities markets and the commodities markets. And we had a great old conversation during that time as well. Check some of it out. It's in the live portion of the videos. But you're seeing these stock prices fall. You're seeing the value of homes fall. You're seeing people, lose their jobs. So this is making people poorer across the board. Look at Mark Zuckerberg. He's lost half of his wealth. They kicked him off of the top 10 richest people list. Okay, so if he is hurting, then you gotta believe that the family of four that's just trying to eat every night, you gotta believe that they're feeling the pain. You know they are. The retiree who worked all of her life and now she's got to economize, and clipping coupons is just not cutting it in order for her to get the amount of calories she needs. Forbes is saying no central banker today, hardly any, talks about stable currencies. It's about depressing the economy to fight inflation. Now, what is stable currency? We've talked about this again and again, but let's go over it again. So, a stable money is gold. Gold doesn't move. The dollar does. Okay, the euro does. The pound does. The real does. The yen does. The yuan does. They move, but the gold stays steady. Now, what makes it look like gold is fluctuating is, let's use our ship on the sea analogy. The dollar is the ship on the sea, and it goes up and it goes down, and it goes up and it goes down. And this is gold. It's the lighthouse standing firm, unmovable. And so when the dollar is strong, like it is now, it tends to make gold look like it's cheaper. In relation to the dollar, it is. When the dollar is weak, it tends to make gold look like it is more expensive. And in relation to that dollar, it is. But if you look around the world and compare the price of gold to other currencies, to other fiat currencies, gold is money. You compare it to other fiat currencies, you will see that it's not necessarily as inexpensive as it has gotten here in America, because these currencies, they're not stable. They're all over the place, and the dollar right now is strong, yes, but as I think Warren Buffett said it, it's the healthiest mare or the prettiest mare in the slaughterhouse, okay? So we all know where those horses are going, right? Okay, so Forbes is saying that the dollar is it's not stable. It's not like that lighthouse, that gold standing firm on a foundation. Today, unfortunately, not only is the Biden administration putting up obstacles to deal with supply side problems, but also the Federal Reserve and other central banks think you have to depress the economy to bring inflation down. So you've got that fiscal policy piece with the Congress has never met anything that it doesn't want to spend money on. I mean, they're children, okay, with an unlimited credit card. And then you've got the Fed with the monetary policy, who's got to come along and, be somewhat of the disciplinarian in terms of raising rates and controlling the money supply. Now, I know that the Fed is not a perfect organization, but it is what it is. It's here. This video is not about abolishing the Fed. This video is about dealing with what is, finding the opportunities in the situation. The real cure is to stabilize the currency. You don't have to make people poor to conquer inflation. Now, Forbes makes that clear. He harps on that. Currency imbalances can create problems for economies. A higher U.S. dollar means more expensive exports, while weaker currencies could mean problems like lower foreign exchange rates. So with our strong dollar, it's making our exports, the things that we produce and send overseas, it's making them appear more expensive to those people over there that are buying them, that are importing our goods. And so that has a deleterious effect on our manufacturers, because you'll probably look for alternatives if you're somewhere in Europe, Asia, or the Middle East, and you want to buy an item, but it's produced in America. You're going to look for a competing item if it's less expensive, especially right now with the world economy being what it is. Forbes suggested using gold to stabilize currencies. For example, tying the U.S. dollar to gold so that the dollar has a fixed price. Now, that's a wonderful idea. Is it going to happen? Absolutely not. In 1971, Nixon temporarily took us off of the gold standard. It's been 51 years. we show absolutely no sign of going back. It's been
Well, I'm not a crook.
It's been 51 years. Gold holds the intrinsic value better than anything else on earth. Gold is not perfect as a stable value, but it is better than anything we have found in over 4,000 years. He's absolutely right about that. With unstable currencies, you get less productive long-term investments, which is a key to economic growth. Okay, so I'll end his part out here with saying, Forbes said that after the Bretton Woods gold standard was introduced in the 1940s, under which the U.S. dollar was fixed to gold and other currencies were fixed to the dollar, economic growth rates were higher. So all of those currencies out there were fixed to the dollar, but the dollar was anchored to that lighthouse, stable in gold. So since we're not going to do that, we know our currency is losing value, even though it looks great compared to other currencies. We know that they're trying deliberately to make us poor. I called these guys idiots the other day out of frustration, but they're not. They're very, very smart. And the reason why you see these central banks and these governments trying hard to suppress the middle class, suppress the economic might of the middle class, is because there is a desire by the powers that be to even out the economic power of the entire world. They want that flattened, okay? They want, if they could wake up tomorrow and have everybody pretty much come down to like I'm not going to say a developing economy standard, but they want you in a position where you don't have a lot of opportunity to purchase assets. Remember, this is Klaus Schwab saying it. You will own nothing and be happy, okay?
And I see the need for action. I see the need for a great reset.
So they don't plan for you to own assets. They want you to consume. You're just someone who's supposed to consume. Go get up, go to work, do whatever it is your job is, consume to drive this economy. And what they want to do, because the middle class is a new phenomenon, relatively speaking, okay? You, up until really the early 20th century, you had rich people and you had poor people, okay? And there was no in between. But this middle class phenomenon really got its start after World War II. And it grew up until that point and really got its, really exploded after World War II. And for reasons that include this climate fanaticism, okay, they want to pare back the consumption in terms of being able to travel where you want, how you want, drive what you want. Go ahead and, go to Walmart and buy your little stuff from there and order off of Amazon and do that. But stay in your lane, okay? You're not going to be owning assets because that's the key to building long-term generational wealth. 401k, for example, it is designed for you not to build generational wealth because there's a such thing as a required minimum distribution, which says at age 72, they have upped it. At the age of 72 right now here in America, you have to start liquidating that 401k money or you face taxes and penalties. So the idea is for you to pay the taxes on it, not to pass it on to your heirs so that they can build on it, okay? So you're going to be made to consume at a level that is a little different from today. Right now, you're consuming food, gasoline, and, everything else is getting very, very, very expensive. So the quality of life, okay, is being suppressed so that we can have our betters adhere to some climate fanaticism, which they probably don't even believe in themselves. If you look at Barack Obama and Al Gore, they're two of the biggest preachers on this subject, and they both have seaside mansions. But they're telling you that the sea levels are going to rise, right before they jump in private jets. Leonardo DiCaprio, one of my favorite actors, he's a big hypocrite when it comes to this sort of thing. So we're seeing the development of rich and poor, no middle class, okay? All right, so let's hear from Rick Rule, okay? Rick Rule is a commodities investor, and he has some advice for the American people.
that what your listeners would be better advised doing is to get their own house in order fiscally. The idea that we're going to get the American house in order fiscally seems to be a non-starter. So my suspicion is that investors must acknowledge the fact that the political class doesn't have their interests at hand, and organize their own lives in a way that they can defend themselves as well as possible, given the circumstance that faces us.
All right, so that's actually good advice in general, not just for Americans, but it's good advice. And what does he mean by defend yourself? Well, he means defend yourself economically. He means being able to feed your family without going broke, being able to heat your house without having to take out a second mortgage. All right, how do you do these things and still purchase assets? Well, there are some areas in your life that you'll probably need to cut back on temporarily. Okay, because right now is a time where assets are so inexpensive that so many people are going to use this opportunity. The wealthy are going to use this opportunity to make a bundle. Look at Warren Buffett. We covered him about a month ago. He went in and said, I own 16% of Occidental Petroleum. He applied to own 50% of it. So that tells you a couple of things. He sees it as a bargain right now, and he also sees that oil is going to continue to be a primary source of energy here in the world and in the country. Not to mention the fact that he owns trains that transport it. So, hey, he got you going in coming. So, go ahead and look deeply at your financial situation. Start a business, okay? And I'm not saying quit your job, but start a business. That way, if your job quits you, you have a source of income, okay? The government doesn't care about you. You heard Rick Rule say it. They've got their own designs. Their designs are, again, to turn you into this full-time consumer that owns absolutely nothing, okay? Consume, consume, consume. Don't own. They even have, I told you about DoorDash and another one that have the buy now, pay later food delivery. Okay, so bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, buy it now, pay for it later. Okay, that's the mentality. People are starting to consider renting appliances. I have appliances in this house that came with the house. Okay, they're really old, but they still work. So that means every day that passes, they become less expensive. Every day that I don't have to purchase a new dishwasher means that I have more money to put into purchasing an asset. Also, with regard to, I'm really sensitive to this. I showed you guys a picture of the butternut squash and the potatoes. I think I showed you the potatoes, but definitely the butternut squash that we took up out of the ground. We're set for the winter. I did the potatoes because they're high in calories. I did the butternut squash because they have a high nutritional value. And we've got our meats, okay? And I'm sorry, but we just are not eating out right now. Because again, there's a 20% tip that we need to leave because we go to places with good service. We respect that. And I know restaurants are going to take it on the chin right now, but in this time, I'm following the advice of Rick Rule, encouraging you to do so as well. Get your house in order so that you can take advantage of what may be a once in a lifetime, a once in a decade opportunity. I do not believe that we're going to be in this state forever. Sensible people will prevail at some point because the pitchforks are coming out, metaphorically speaking, for the people who have gotten us into this mess. Okay, and that's true. It has been a long time coming. But, we went from driving a car like maniacs in terms of our spending and largesse to just driving the damn thing over a cliff in the last 2 years, quite willingly. All right, guys. So I want you to go ahead and watch that video we did, the live stream that we did. I think you might really enjoy that. Prepare for more live streams from us. We're going to be covering things as they happen. So in the meantime, go ahead. That's me talking on video. Go ahead and check out a video we did on Friday, showing you how to change your life by starting a side hustle, a small business, whatever you want to call it, another stream of income. If you want some inspiration on how to do that and you want some ideas on what you might entertain doing, take a look at this video and learn how young lady made $735,000 this year, in the last year, by selling stuff that she had in her closet. Okay? Look into that story. It's deep. You're not going to believe what she was able to do in such a short amount of time with the proper motivation. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon.